Act 1. The Day of Glory, Jesus' first 24 hours after his resurrection. Jesus visits close family and friends. Blessed Mother didn't go to the tomb with the other women. Why? While St. John's Gospel records Mary Magdalene as the first public witness, the Church, supported by St. Ignatius of Loyola and St. Ambrose, has always maintained that Jesus appeared first to his mother. While Mary Magdalene went to the tomb to find a body, the Church teaches that the Blessed Mother did not because her faith was so perfect she didn't need to check the tomb, she was already waiting for him. This visit confirms Mary as the pillar of faith for the early Church. Why does the Church support a tradition not explicitly written in the Gospels? The Catholic insight is rooted in the fourth commandment, honor thy father and thy mother. The saints, including St. Albert the Great and St. Teresa of Avila, argued that Jesus, being the perfect Son, would fulfill this commandment perfectly. His first act of new life was to console the one who suffered most at the foot of the cross. Blessed Emmerich tells us in detail, before the sun rose, Jesus entered Mary's room. He did not pass through the door, but through the wall, radiating a light. Blessed Emmerich saw them embrace in a silence so deep it wasn't recorded in Scripture. This wasn't a legal appearance for the world, it was a filial act of love to the woman who stood by the cross. Mary Magdalene, according to St. John, is the first recorded witness. At first she thinks he is the gardener. Emmerich writes, she didn't recognize him because he was surrounded by a shimmering mist and appeared in a simple white linen garment. She was looking for the human master and teacher. She couldn't yet process the glorified King until Jesus said her name. The holy women, Mary of James, Joanna, and Salome, ran from the tomb to tell the apostles. Jesus met them on the road. They fell at his feet and adored him. Sunday afternoon. Peter is alone, likely weeping. St. Luke and St. Paul both confirm that Jesus appeared to Peter privately before he appeared to the rest of the group. This was likely a moment of reconciliation where Peter was forgiven for his 3 denials. Jesus appears to him privately. This is the head of the Church being restored before he has to lead the others. On Easter evening, Jesus appeared through locked doors in the upper room. Thomas is notably absent. Jesus breathes on them, giving them the power to forgive sins, instituting the sacrament of penance. He showed them his hands inside. Emmerich saw that Jesus' body were 5 brilliant diamonds of light. As he breathed on the apostles, she saw a mist of golden grace pass from his lips to theirs, physically transforming their souls into priests. 2 questions. On the day of the resurrection, Jesus encounters 2 disciples walking to Emmaus. They don't recognize him. Why? We know Cleophas was one of them, but who is the other? Blessed Emmerich identifies this silent traveler as a young St. Luke. This revelation provides a compelling reason why only his gospel records this journey with such intimate, first-hand detail. He was not just writing history, but documenting his own conversion. Blessed and Catherine Emmerich describes Jesus as wearing a brownish-gray pilgrim's garment. As Jesus spoke, the disciples felt the burning in their hearts. Through this encounter, Jesus teaches a profound lesson that every Catholic practices today. He is found in the Scriptures and the Eucharist. Jesus explained how all the prophecies pointed to him, but the disciples' eyes were only open when he took the bread, blessed it, broke it, and gave it to them. This encounter mirrors the structure of the Mass, the liturgy of the Word followed by the liturgy of the Eucharist. When the disciples recognized Jesus in the breaking of the bread, he vanished, teaching them that he would no longer be present physically, but would remain globally in every tabernacle on earth. Act 2. Jesus reinforces the building of the Church. Jesus met the apostles by the shore and cooked breakfast. After the miraculous catch of 153 fish and 8, Jesus pulls Peter aside. 3 times he asks, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" 3 times Peter, remembering his triple denial in the courtyard, answers with a trembling heart, "Lord, you know that I love you." With the words, "Feed my sheep," the keys of the kingdom were formally handed over. The Emmerich detail, Blessed and Catherine saw that this wasn't a brief exchange. Jesus walked with Peter for a long time, tracing the shoreline. She reveals that during this walking retreat, Jesus gave Peter the divine rubrics. He taught him the secrets of the church's hierarchy and how the apostles were to guard the deposit of faith. We see this as the moment Peter becomes the vicar of Christ. He is no longer just a fisherman, he is the shepherd of the universal flock, receiving his final instructions directly from the mouth of God. Another important encounter with Jesus. The soldier who pierced Jesus' side is traditionally known as Saint Longinus. The Emmerich detail, she saw Jesus appear specifically to him. Longinus had been suffering from failing eyesight, but when the blood and water hit him at the cross, he began to see. Now, in this 40-day appearance, Jesus fully heals his soul. He becomes one of the first secret witnesses within the Roman army, proving that the resurrection was not just for the Jews, but for the entire world. The Emmerich detail, Jesus visited the home of his friends. She notes that Lazarus, having already been in the tomb for 4 days, was the only human who truly understood Jesus' new state. They spoke of the other side in a way the apostles couldn't yet grasp. One of the most remarkable encounters took place when Jesus appeared to a crowd of over 500 people. This moment is briefly mentioned in 1 Corinthians 15 verse 6. Serves as a powerful affirmation of the truth of his resurrection, a truth witnessed by many and testified to by those who live to tell the story. After 1 week, Jesus again appeared to the apostles in the upper room. This time St. Thomas was with them. In John 20 verse 27, Jesus speaks directly to Thomas, saying,
"Put your finger here, see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe."
My Lord and my God.
This powerful encounter not only affirmed Jesus' resurrection to Thomas, but also served as a teaching moment for all of us. Jesus didn't rebuke Thomas harshly for his doubt. Instead, he gave him the proof he needed. But then, he says something remarkable.
"Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed."
What we learn, Jesus' interaction with Thomas shows us the grace he extends, and the powerful truth that faith is not always about seeing, but believing. Jesus revealed himself in circles of intimacy. First, to the heart of the church, his mother. Then, to the 10 apostles, Mary Magdalene, St. Thomas, holy women, rode to Emmaus and the shore on Galilee. Then, to the head of the church, Peter. And finally, to the body of the church, the 500. He didn't just appear, he was strategically rebuilding the hierarchy of our faith. With the hierarchy set and the friends visited, only one thing remained: Jesus needs to return to his Father's throne. Now Act 3, on the 40th day, Jesus ascended into heaven, and a cloud took him from their sight. This is the most epic vision. Emmerich saw that Jesus didn't rise alone. He was leading a vast procession, the holy souls he had visited from limbo during the 72 hours of the Triduum. Among them, she saw Saint Joseph and the patriarchs, finally entering the gates of heaven behind their king. The traditional site is marked by the Chapel of the Ascension, a shrine on the southern summit of the Mount of Olives in the At-Tur district of Jerusalem. This location, venerated for centuries, is believed to contain the imprint of Jesus' last footprint before he ascended into heaven. Mark 16 verse 19 briefly mentions Jesus was taken up into heaven after speaking to them. Acts 1 verse 12 explicitly identifies the location as the Mount of Olives. Jesus, the cornerstone, laid the theological and practical groundwork for the church. He empowered the apostles, turning a fearful group into bold leaders. The age of the church, the age of the Mass, had just begun. Thank you for joining us.